Right now, as you are watching this, the American West is burning in more places at once than the National Fire System has the people to cover. In Washington state, the Little Giant Fire has consumed 144,000 acres and sits at 15% containment. In eastern Oregon, the Big Grass Fire has burned 578,000 acres. Outside Reno, Nevada, a fire that did not exist on Friday had pushed roughly 90,000 people into evacuation zones by Sunday morning. The National Interagency Fire Center's most recent National Situation Report counts 86 uncontained large fires, 131 active incidents, and more than 3.6 million acres inside those fire perimeters. That number moves every single morning. Some counts published this week said 79 large fires across 18 states. Some said 84, some said 86. The count is a snapshot of a moving thing. What has not moved is this. The United States has been sitting at National Preparedness Level 5, the highest tier that exists since the 18th of July. Today we are going to break down exactly what is going on, where it is most dangerous, and whether things could get even worse. No guessing, no dramatizing, just the facts, the science, and the real stakes. Drop a comment right now. Have you ever personally been evacuated from a wildfire, or had to breathe the smoke for weeks on end? Tell me where you were and what it felt like. If you want to be the first to know every time something major happens, subscribe. It is completely free. A thumbs up also helps enormously. Let us go for 5,000 likes on this one so the algorithm actually shows it to people who need to see it. And by the time we are done here, you will understand why the wind forecast over these fires is not dangerous for the reason almost everyone assumes. Now, let us get into it. Start with Reno, because Reno is the clearest window into all of it. On the 22nd of August, a fire started off Hawk Meadow Trail, roughly 1 mile north of Cold Creek Trail, in the Somerset area northwest of the city. That is not a wilderness, that is a subdivision. Investigators confirmed within a day that the fire was human-caused. Washoe County Sheriff Darren Balaam said plainly that they may never determine whether it was intentional or accidental, and that the cause will more than likely be classified as undetermined. By Sunday, the Hawk Fire had grown past 10,500 acres. By Monday morning's national report, it stood at 15,051 acres with 0% containment, and the fire behavior line on that report reads like a warning label. Extreme fire behavior with running, wind-driven runs, and backing. Numerous structures threatened. Evacuations, area, road and trail closures in effect. Around 87,000 people in parts of Reno and Washoe County, just under 1/5 of the county's 500,000 residents, were told to go now or get set. The Go Now zone reached the edge of the University of Nevada campus. 2 medical centers evacuated patients. U.S. Highway 395 was closed in both directions from Parr Boulevard to Red Rock Road. Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo activated the National Guard and declared a state of emergency for the county. Around 800 emergency responders went to work on a single hillside. Then something happened that matters enormously for the rest of this video. By Monday afternoon, containment went from 0 to 27%. Crews stopped the fire from reaching Somerset and northwest Reno. Evacuation numbers fell from 42,000 to 23,000. Chief Richard Edwards of the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District gave the number nobody wanted. 32 homes destroyed. 6 more damaged. 7 people injured. 4 civilians and 3 first responders, whose injuries were minor and happened at the start of the fire. Nobody died. Hold that thought. And understand that Hawk was not an isolated event. Sheriff Balaam noted it was the 3rd major fire to hit northern Nevada in a matter of weeks. The Bug Fire, which began on the 8th of August, just north of Hawk, burned nearly 94,000 acres. The Stallion Fire started 2 days after that and took just over 40,000. Zoom out to the national report, and the pattern repeats everywhere. On the Yakima Reservation in Washington, the Coal Wash Fire grew by 34,599 acres in a single 24-hour period. In Oregon's Wallowa-Whitman National Forest, both the McCully and North Pole fires were logged with extreme fire behavior, crowning, uphill runs, and spotting, with structures and communication infrastructure threatened and evacuations in effect. In Utah, the Big Mountain Fire near Alberta was running wind-driven through Chaparral. In Idaho, Shale Butte, wind-driven runs. In Oklahoma, the Bison Fire, extreme fire behavior with wind-driven runs. Year to date, more than 50,000 fires have burned over 7.8 million acres nationally. That is 129% of the 10-year average for fire count and 168% for acres. That changed fast. Now here's the part that reframes everything. Look at what it is taking to hold this line. 22,085 personnel are assigned to fires, 437 crews, 1,208 engines, 176 helicopters, 3 15-member incident management teams, and 270 fire line personnel flown in from Australia and New Zealand. Military C-130 air tankers fitted with the modular airborne firefighting system, deployed from an Air Force Reserve wing in Colorado, a Nevada Air National Guard wing, and a California Air National Guard wing, staged at Klamath Falls, Oregon and Redding, California. 240 soldiers from the 1st Battalion, 23rd Infantry Regiment out of Joint Base Lewis McChord, sent to work a single fire in Washington. That is what Preparedness Level 5 actually means. It is not a weather forecast, and it is not a hazard rating for any particular town. It is an accounting statement about how much of the country's shared firefighting capacity is already spoken for. And the answer is almost all of it. So now, the wind. To put wind in context, most people picture it as a bellows, blowing on a fire the way you blow on a campfire coal. That is part of it, but it is the smallest part. Wind does 3 separate things, and they compound. First, it tilts the flame forward so the burning front leans over unburned fuel ahead of it, pre-drying and preheating that fuel before the flames ever arrive. Second, it drives relative humidity down. Fine dead fuels, cured grass, pine needles, small brush, exchange moisture with the air in a matter of minutes, not days. When afternoon humidity drops into single digits, as it did across the Northwest this week, with minimum values between 8 and 20%, those fuels become effectively bone dry. Third, and this is the one that kills people, wind carries embers. A wind-driven crown fire throws burning material ahead of itself. In heavy timber, spotting distances of a mile or more are documented. That means the firefighters holding a line are not fighting a wall that advances toward them. They are fighting a fire that lands behind them. There is one more physical wrinkle worth knowing. Fire scientists broadly distinguish between wind-driven fires and plume-dominated fires. A wind-driven fire is pushed, it runs in a predictable direction with the wind. A plume-dominated fire builds its own towering convection column, and when that column collapses, it slams superheated air and embers outward in every direction at once. The Hawkfire's daily briefing warned that afternoon gusts of 15 to 20 miles an hour would develop after 11 a.m. and would drive fire movement that day. 20 miles an hour is not a hurricane. It is a breezy afternoon. And it was enough for the incident team to state, in writing, that the wind would decide where the fire went. That should tell you how little wind it takes when everything else is already dry. Now, here is the difference between a bad fire and a catastrophe, and it is not luck. It is arrival time. Look at 2 American fires burning at the same moment. In Reno, a human-caused fire started in a subdivision in a metro area of 500,000 people with a Reno City Fire Department, a district fire department, and the U.S. Forest Service in unified command, an activated National Guard, a mapped evacuation zone system residents could check on their phones, and 800 responders on scene almost immediately. Result, 32 homes lost, 7 minor injuries, 0 deaths, containment moving from 0 to 27% in about a day. Now go to Custer County, Colorado, 20 miles southwest of Pueblo. The Aspen Acres fire has burned 102,000 acres. It is 77% contained. Its estimated cost to date is over $104 million. And its structure loss column reads 915. 915 structures. That is not a bigger fire than the ones threatening Reno by much. It is a fire that reached homes before enough people could get to it. These are not just weather events. They are human experiences, and the difference between the 2 columns comes down to how many trained people could stand in front of the flames on the day it mattered. Which brings us to the thing worth actually watching. Because the danger in this wind forecast is not that wind makes a fire hotter, it is that wind makes many fires escalate at the same time, and at Preparedness Level 5, there is no reserve left to send. Under normal conditions, when a fire blows up, the system surges. Crews get pulled from a quieter geographic area, engines roll in from 3 states away, air tankers reposition. That is exactly why the National Interagency Fire Center exists in Boise, and why requests move up a staged ladder from local to one of 10 geographic coordination centers to the national level. But when every geographic area is committed, surging means taking from somewhere that also needs it. This year, the country has already gone outside its own borders for help, to Australia, to New Zealand, to Canada, and pulled active duty soldiers and military aircraft into a civilian mission. The reserve is not deep. It is foreign crews and infantry. Keep an eye on a few specific signals. Watch the dry lightning. The national forecast discussion has been flagging isolated mixed wet and dry thunderstorms across far northeast California, southeast Oregon, and the northern Great Basin, and monsoon storms across Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and northwest New Mexico, where the rainfall footprints stay small because the ground is so hot the rain evaporates before landing. Storms like that are the worst of both worlds. They start fires with lightning, and they deliver erratic outflow gusts that have been measured to 50 miles an hour, which can flip a fire's direction without warning. Watch the humidity recovery overnight. When fuels stop rehydrating after dark, crews lose the night shift, which is historically when containment line gets built. Watch the containment dates on the big incidents. Several of the Northwest fires carry estimated containment of the 1st of October, the 31st of October, even the 30th of November. Those are not typos. Those are teams telling you they expect to be there until the season-ending rain. And watch the ignition source, because the year-to-date number that matters most is not acres. It is that fire after fire in these reports traces back to people. So let us resolve this honestly. The American West is not going to burn down. That is not what these numbers say. Read the same report all the way through and you find the bug fire at 97% contained, the big grass fire at 93, Kaiser Canyon at 98, Second Flat at 99. The overwhelming majority of the fires on that list will end quietly, with a line held and nobody's house in it. A wind event is not a prophecy, it is a bad shift. But the most realistic danger here was never the enormous fire deep in a national forest with a containment date in November. It is the small one. The Hawk Fire was 15,000 acres, a rounding error next to the 500,000-acre incidents in Oregon, and it put 90,000 Americans into evacuation zones and took 32 homes, because it did not start in the wilderness. It started off a walking trail at the edge of a neighborhood on a warm afternoon with a 20-mile-an-hour breeze, and it was started by a person. That is the version that arrives with no warning at all, and the only thing standing between it and a street of houses is whether there's anyone left to send. If this one held your attention, drop that comment. Tell me where you were when the smoke came, and what it looked like. Let us hit 5,000 likes, so this reaches the people living under these skies right now. See you in the next one.